We know that North Korea has provided military assistance to the Wagner Group. Uh, how, in your estimation, has the United States responded to this intelligence, and how do you think our government should be responding to other nations like China, who may provide military assistance to the Wagner Group or directly to Russia in the future?
So North Korea is one of the most sanctioned countries in the world, but nonetheless, the fact that it's providing military armaments to Wagner, I think, requires a stern response by the Biden administration to explore additional sanctions against specific individuals or organizations who may have provided those arms to the Wagner, the group. An interesting tool that's not been...
To date, have we seen any of those
No, I haven't seen
potential
anything
sanctions take place?
specifically. And that's a relatively new development that occurred at the end of 2022, and designations do take some time to unroll, so they may be looking at potential targets still for possible designation. So that's one thing about the designations process. Generally, it could take many months to unfold before a designation culminates.
Understood. With respect to designating the Wagner Group as an FTO, how specifically, and I know you've all been touching on this in your testimony, but U.S. efforts to hold the company accountable for its continued threat to security, how would this designation really allow us to do that as an effective tool?
Well, it empowers the full counterterrorism might of the U.S. government, ultimately. Part of our national security strategy, it's been in the national security strategy over the last several years, is this concept of integrated deterrence. And really, it activates our counterterrorism powers across the alphabet soup of military, defense, and intelligence agencies. Specifically, it empowers the Department of Justice, really, with a very strong criminal law enforcement tool, that tool of deterrence which we've been speaking about. I mean, truly, any member, any fighter, any financier, any supplier, anyone who wants to provide beans, bullets, money to the Wagner Group and their terrorist network anywhere in the world now falls under the jurisdiction for prosecution into the United States, which is an extraordinarily powerful tool that exists globally. That is really, I think, the strongest benefit if we're talking about that law enforcement tool. Certainly there's diplomatic pressure as well, and diplomatic aspects of such a designation, which have been touched on a little bit here today. But in the end, really, it's this criminal power that we have with a concentrated, coordinated focal point for U.S. government efforts is really the animating difference here with an FTO designation versus the existing sanctions regime. And then, Congressman, just to address one of your earlier questions, under the IEPA sanctions, there's only been piecemeal designations in relation to the Wagner Group. The Wagner Group, as we all know, have been designated many times, and there's a history here. But in terms of other enablers, there's been some ad hoc designations as SDNs. Most recently, January 23rd, there was a laundry list of companies in various countries: China, Russia, Luxembourg, Central African Republic, and the UAE. Just those SDN designations, what it primarily does is just prevents U.S. persons from engaging in transactions with them, or conduct that occurs on U.S. soil or transit through the U.S., or has a deterrent effect on these other non-U.S. persons.
So you believe this designation would allow us to hold other countries and other bad actors accountable for engaging and cooperating with them?
100%.
Thank you.